I think the most cruel directors I've ever worked with were gay, and therefore I forgave them.
How on earth do you live with yourself? Please, this is only the beginning.
I wanted to start by asking, how does it feel to have a project that combines two of your great loves, cinema and theatre? Did that feel like quite a unique opportunity?
Well, I didn't quite think of it like that, but for me it was a job, a film. But it was a world I knew a lot about, not just the subject matter of theatre, but the fact that I was playing a gay man in an era that I was part of. I was born in the 1930s. I didn't know what was going on, but what was going on was appalling treatment of gay people. So before the film even starts, Gemma Arterton, the character I play, who's a very important, famous critic and powerful, he's already a victim. And when he decides to advance himself by using somebody else, it's not entirely surprising that he visits the bullying that he's suffered himself onto somebody else. This is talking perhaps too deeply for an interview, but I thought that it all made sense. I believed the gay side of it. I believed the melodramatic story in a rather melodramatic decade, after all. And I believed in not only the other characters, the performances of the other characters, which I thought were remarkably good. So, from lots of points of view, it was a smashing job.
You played Jimmy, a 1930s theatre critic with an acid tongue. Watching him, I felt quite reminded of some of the mean gays I've encountered in my life, and maybe some times when I've been a mean gay myself.
There you go.
I wondered if you felt that, because it's an interesting topic, because on the one hand, it's a far-fetched stereotype that you can have a lot of fun with, such as on Drag Race or in Vicious. And on the other hand, it's quite true to life, because a lot of gay men are suffering with internalised homophobia, can be quite cruel to people, they can be quite cruel to each other. Do you think that that's apparent in the character? And have you ever encountered mean gays in your own life, and did that inform the role at all?
I think the most cruel directors I've ever worked with were gay, and therefore I forgave them. One of them, I needn't name them because it's all history, was extremely distinguished director who worked for the National Theatre and the Royal Court and on Broadway and the Royal Opera, had been imprisoned because of his sexuality. It doesn't surprise me that someone comes out of that sort of experience with a bitterness and an acidity which is visited on other people. Doesn't excuse it, but it explains it in part. And, you know, all praise to Patrick Marbeau, who's as straight as can be, who got into the tone of what you're talking about.
We do see Jimmy uplifting Nina, an actress that he's previously eviscerated with his pen, although he's kind of supporting her for his own ends. Did the role give you any food for thought about the unique position gay men have in 2024 when it comes to uplifting other oppressed groups, whether that's women as a whole or other parts of the LGBTQ community?
When I went through the whole business of coming out, which wasn't a complicated one in my case, but was very late in my life, late 40s, and then when able to sort of rise a little bit above it all, I looked at the situation of anti-gay laws in other countries quite close to our own. Yes, it did make me think, this is what it's like to belong to a particular race that's being persecuted, or... Yes. I hadn't taken it personally until it was over. Then I looked back, and then I only got angry, really, when I'd come out. I think I was cowed before then. Happily cowed. Then when I came out, I was indignant and bloody furious.
It did seem to me that Jimmy is in the glass closet almost. He's got one foot in, one foot out of a publicly gay identity. His peers and his friends know he has some self-consciously risky interactions with law enforcement. I wondered, did that chime at all with your experience of your coming out story?
Well, it was true of me that I was out to all my friends. my boyfriend and I lived as a monogamous, happy couple. How, but we didn't hold hands. We didn't put arms around each other. We certainly didn't kiss or show any affection in public. No, they'd be asking for trouble. I mean, sort of took this for granted. Until one day, we didn't have to do that anymore. And then I got furious after the event. And then furious for other people. I think Jimmy's situation rings very true. But it's not a coming out story. It's a story about one of the characters is gay.
The film also got me thinking about the subject of inner critics and the way Nina desires Jimmy's approval and she self-sabotages herself. I wondered if you, even with all your experience, do you still experience crises of confidence, and did you have any on the set of The Critic?
And do you think if I had, I would tell you about them? I've noticed that it's one of the conditions I have about agreeing to play a part that I'm not sure that I can, that I'll be able to. That's a challenge. And it's more interesting than playing a part you've already played, as it were. There wasn't a moment that you describe, and I found it all too difficult and disturbing. No. Rather, I was spending my time gawping at how brilliant all the other actors were. Right through the entire cast. But particularly Gemma, who I saw at close quarters.
In 2024, with social media, it can feel like everyone's a critic.
Yes, that's true.
And that affects us all, and you're quite active on social media. I was wondering, do you encounter unconstructive criticism or unsolicited opinions, and has the film helped you finesse how to detect them and how to deal with that?
No, I mean, I have a presence in the social media world, and if it appears to be from me, it is from me, but I don't do the day-to-day workings. And I don't, I'm afraid, read people's replies. I have on occasion, and it's been very touching. But I don't want to bump into any negativity which is going to take up my time and upset me. And I don't want to give it any credence. So I think the sort of chatter you get on X, etc., is the sort of chatter you get in the saloon bar of a pub at the end of a long night's drinking, when people say what they think and are outrageous. Probably wouldn't say it in the morning, and certainly wouldn't say it to anyone's face, but they shout the odds, and they do that now online, and I think people should be careful, because they needlessly upset people, and what's the point?
Has the film given you food for thought on the changing relationship between journalism and the arts? I loved seeing the depiction of journalists and the media in 1930s, because these individual people had such power, and now the media landscape is facing a lot of difficulty, and LGBTQ media exists when it didn't in Jimmy's time. Could you speak to the importance of LGBTQ media surviving this landscape, given that it's something that Jimmy might never have even imagined
I think the attitude should continue as long as you want to earn a living by working for them. Is it a good living they pay you?
Yeah.
Good. Any specialist publication, whether it's for gardeners or old people or gay people, or I suppose not gay people, can be very helpful. But particularly for us, when in our early years of confusion, maybe, the worst thing is a feeling there's nobody else in the world like me, I'm on my own. To know, because there's a regular magazine on sale at the local shop, that clearly you're not on your own. You may feel you are, but there's something you can do about it. Get out and about, find a mate. Oh yes, very important. Now, when we look at the particular publication, we might be critical of it and said that it's too angled in one direction rather than another. There's not enough politics in it. It's too frippery. It's too inconsequential. Well, what's wrong with an inconsequential article or photograph? Because there'll be some point in it from somebody who looks at it. I don't get worried about that sort of thing.
What is your relationship with critiquing your own work? Do you watch your own work back? And is there a particular performance that you really love and maybe one that you have doubts?
Oh, do you know? I have to watch myself tonight because I'm going to see the first public performance. Well, I'm not looking forward to it particularly, and I'm not looking forward to it because I'm doing it in the company of friends and others who are seeing the film for the first time. No. Unfortunately, if you're in the film, you don't really enjoy it. How can you? You're a critic. You're just looking at yourself, not because you like looking at yourself, but you say, what are you doing that for?
Is there one performance there where you're particularly satisfied with?
Well, there are some effects in Lord of the Rings, and indeed the X-Men movies, when you can't believe your eyes because the character on screen does something that looks absolutely impossible. Yeah, because it's AI, it's not you at all, so that's rather surprising. I don't really think I've ever seen myself on screen and thought, ooh, that was good. Certainly not all the way through a film. Certainly not. Yeah, there might be a moment when you think, oh, that just cracked it.
Finally, the film is set almost a century ago, and the needle has moved greatly on equality in that time. But do you hope people come away from the film with a sense of we could return back to those times if we're not careful, and we need to be aware and on guard?
Well, that might be a reaction, that should be fair enough. But it's not the motive for the film having been written or made. I don't think so. Mm-hmm. It's not proselytizing. It's not a treatise. It's not a call to arms. It's not an overtly political film. But it's aware of the truth of the situation, and it's a light-hearted, sometimes grim, telling of a all too credible, though outrageous, story.
And it just fills in our imaginations about what it was like then.
That's right.
And that's so important.
Yes.